Should be sending it live, baby. Let's see if this works this time. Okay, I think we're on. I think we're on.
I'm trying to get some DMCA copyright-free music for the background while people wait.
I like it. I
know?
like it. I like it.
Come on now.
Let's go. Let's go. Okay, I'll get this tweeted out right now. That should be good. Okay. So did this work? Did this work? Hello, hello, hello. Okay, there we go. I think it worked. Oh wait, am I logged in on Breaking Point somehow? Oh, this is so weird. Oh yeah, I'm logged in on Breaking Point. This is mad. I've never done this before. What's good, Graham? Welcome to the show. We are just warming up real quick. Getting ready for the episode this week. Oh my god. I'm actually so buzzing for tonight's match, I'm not gonna lie. OpTic Surge. What's good, everyone? Welcome to the show. Hope everything sounds good. You can hear us. Royalty-free music in the chat. No, there's no way. Wait, is this a thing? Is that just luck of the draw, or is this like, did you invite royalty-free music to get us free tunes?
I didn't. I didn't invite anyone. If he's there, if this person popped in, that's just the grace of the good one up there that this guy popped in. Help us out, man. We need some royalty-free music out here, man.
That's true. Yeah, we need some good backing tracks. We can't carry it all ourselves. What's good, BP Valorant? What a channel! What a premium content on that channel. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, no bias, obviously, no bias. What's good, Focus? How's work? You're on the grind? I respect it. I'm not quite done work for the day yet, you know. We're gonna be up this evening, putting in work. OpTic versus Surge. Recap video, it's gonna go hard. Illy versus Shotzi, first time ever. It's gonna be heat.
I got strong opinions on this game, but we gotta wait for the show, man.
No way. Nah, this guy's really gonna go trio Surge. That's crazy.
Relax. Stop being a spoiler. No spoiler alerts, okay? Let it rock.
I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna say today. This is the thing. He's unpredictable, but I'm gonna toast him. That's for sure. Toast these dog shit takes.
Brother, don't worry, man. I can't wait for you to say some absolute caca, and I'm gonna be on your head. Just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it. I'm for sure waiting for it. What else do you have today? We've got some interesting games. I mean, we won't go through these games today, so I might as well just mention them now, because we're probably going to talk like through the big ones of the weekend. But,
right.
You know, Miami Vegas is pretty spicy, huh? Well, I mean, it's not spicy, but it's like, we won Heretics. They kind of smoked Ravens last week.
Yeah.
And Ravens beat Legion. You know?
Yeah. So Heretics, it's really the question of whether are they real, or is it just they look that dominant, or is it really they're just coming out here moving differently? You know, the first Euro team to really, we might see a real Euro team dominate the league. Who knows?
Yo, I mean, I wouldn't even gone that far.
That's a spicy
I'm gonna
take.
have to push back on your take. No, that's crazy.
They look good though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I like it because people were talking. You know how it is. I always used to watch the episodes back when like Pac-Man and these boys used to run the scene, and it was like Pac-Man. I like Nameless. Like, I don't have a problem with these guys, but every time they're on a podcast, there'd always be any European player, any European team. It's always, nah, they're dog shit. They ain't as good as the NA kids. It's always how it is. And it's the same you hear when like Heretics was formed. People saying, oh, they don't deserve a spot in the league. They're taking up spots from guys like Gunless and the Seam and all this. But, you know, they're coming in. They're proving their worth. And look, I think they're going to be in with a fight this year to make champs. But they're proving that they deserve a spot as far as I'm concerned. Oh my god, game 5 round 11, Hook v Pred for the dub. I didn't even think, like, I mentioned it in today's video, the fact that it's Pred versus his former team as well. Such an obvious storyline, but like, that's probably the most overshadowed storyline of the whole thing.
But like, at the same time, is it really a storyline when no one from his team is still there?
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I wish there was someone left. Like, even if Mac was still left or something, it would still at least be like,
over the coach, right? Like,
yeah,
like
even the coach is gone.
Well,
it's not, you didn't have that to like play with a little bit.
Yeah, true. That's funny actually. And then Thieves Boston. I mean, these teams both played Surge and FaZe last week, and they both got bodied 2-0. Well, not bodied exactly, but kind of bodied.
I mean,
Yeah, I know what you mean, run and dunk. They need a win though. Like, if you lose this series, it's done. It's not done, but you're probably not making winners bracket. If you start 0-3, I mean, you can still make winners, but it's tough at that point for Boston or Thieves. So they need a dub desperately.
I gotta peep this.
Loser
YouTube
makes
chat,
a roster change before February. Hot take.
I gotta get on this YouTube chat to see what people are saying. I can't see it.
You can go YouTube and like pop it out. Maybe I can even send you the link. Maybe I can do this. Wait, there's no way I'm gonna praise YouTube live streaming if this works. I always have a nightmare with this. But that's all good. Yeah, once you got it up, we'll just send a show live. Sensational. Welcome everyone. Hope you're all doing well. And we're gonna kick this bad boy off and talk through some of the beef because it's been a spicy week. It's always a spicy week.
There's always something.
December.
There's always
something
happening.
in COD. You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There we go.
So this is what I find mind-blowing, right? Like I make videos about Formula 1 as well. And you'd think in F1, much bigger sport, you know, so much money. You'd think there's all sorts of drama and talking points. Still not as much as COD. It doesn't seem to matter what I care about or talk about or think about. Valorant's the same. It's like, there ain't enough content in these other things to do 2 videos a day. But in COD there always is. There's always some shit going down. Scrappy's always yapped his neck about something.
Can't make me laugh too hard, brother. I'm gonna lose a lung if you make me laugh a little too hard.
I'll try my best. All good. Oh, you did a tweet as well.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go.
pushed out a tweet too. So we got everything
Love
kind of going right now. Retweeted the tweet as well. So we're going.
Good looks. All right, I think we kick it off. Does your intro work? You reckon?
Yeah, of course it does, man. Of course it does. All right, let's
try it. All right, I'll shut up.
Let's get it going. Let me get this music off. All right, everyone. Welcome to Dope Check. Whoa, well. Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of Dope Check featuring the Electric, Tactical Rab, and of course, me, whether you know me as the Stocksman or Ace. Welcome to the show.
The guy with all the dog shit opinions, he's back again for another episode.
I'm ready to fight you, brother. All day, every day. You make the match, we'll make it happen. I got it. What's going on?
I got
bro?
you. Yeah, we're gonna go head to head in Boston in a little bit. I mean, we got a month and a week or something. We'll be there, squaring up.
Yeah. If we don't get a pick like this, like you and me side by side, face off, then it wasn't a real event for me. Then we trolled the whole event.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. Yeah, we'll be doing this live in due course. But it's good to be back, baby. It's a fun time to be a COD fan because tonight's a big one. We've got lots of spicy storyline to dive into as well. And we're just going to kick straight into it because last weekend was, to be honest, the New York Subliners series against the Gorillas was crazy when that went down. But the big storyline that dominated was the whole snaking drama. We knew it was going to happen. We knew there was going to be some talking points about this. And we can bring up the clip just about now of what this looked like from the third-person perspective. Skies popping some snakes. Now, I know there was a lot of community reaction to this. There was some rather limited, surprisingly so as far as I'm concerned, pro player reaction to this. But yeah, do you want to share the clip, Ace?
I showed the clip. Share the clip or show the clip?
Okay, we can see the clip. It's all good. It's all good. It's just it's a bit delayed from the YouTube, so I can't see what's happening in real time.
Oh,
but that's fine. We get the picture. Like people have seen the clip. I showed it probably 15 times in a video as well of skies bobbing up and down. Look, I want to hear your take on this, Ace.
Yeah.
Because I know it's gonna be stupid. So let me hear it.
Listen, brother. Everyone in the chat, fan, you compete, whatever you are. That is not a snake. Listen to me. If you watch the clip intently, he's below cover. He's knows someone's around. He sees assault, and then he ducks, and then just bobs once. I thought according to the rules that we all established as a community, it was 2 snakes or it's not a snake. Brother Tack Rab, you're making up your own rules at this point, and you say it's a dog shit take, but in my opinion, that's not a snake. I watched your video. You're out here trying to get guys in trouble, man.
That's crazy, bro. This guy needs to turn his eyes on. Like, if you rewatch that clip, okay, the player in question dies, and then you can see through the floor, as in the screenshot right now, that Skies is going up and down again. I refuse to believe. Look, this might not have been an intentional snake, and I'm happy to debate the merits of that. But as far as I'm concerned, by what was agreed upon by the pros, and Skies himself admitted after the fact in a tweet that we can also bring up that he apologized for the snaking and how it was perceived. He didn't probably think it looked like that from an external perspective, but he agreed after the fact that it was. And sure, 2 snakes isn't a snake, but at the end of the day, 2 snakes is still kind of a snake as far as I'm concerned, because if you do it in a certain way, you can still take advantage of it. And we saw the very next series of this, Draza played on this map for Thieves, was in the same circumstance. He could have snaked, chose not to, and got gunned. And I respect that from Draza, because he could have snaked it, and he would have done last year. But he chose to take the gunfight, and he went for it. So, yeah, I mean, like, look, whether you think it was a snake or not, he apologized for it. So he must have thought that it either was or looked like it. The frustrating thing from my side is I expected more of a reaction to this from the pros. Whether you think that or not, Ace, okay, fine. But Skies apologized, so let's take it from there. I was expecting more pros to come out and say, or at least talk about it, because all it was Zuma put the red card up. He put the red card tweet up to Skies and said, that's not acceptable. Skies then apologized. And even 2 of the guys on Gorilla said, oh, it wasn't the where we lost the game. And maybe it wasn't, but it was a very important moment on a very important comeback that if they don't win that map, then they don't win the series because they lost map 3 and map 4, as it turned out, towards the end of it. I know a lot of the people in the community, and I wouldn't have gone this far, but they were saying, here we go, boys. It's time to blacklist them for a week. Subliners, get in the bin. Community blacklist. They ain't getting any practice. This is unacceptable. And I think that's a bit far. But what I would have expected is the pros to say a little bit more so, like, all right, this happens. We're not happy this happens. They should have made an example of it and said, look, this is a kind of a one-off case. I don't know. It's difficult. You can't enforce these snaking GAs. But the frustrating thing I have is that Skies does it, apologizes for it, and then effectively gets away with it. What's to stop somebody, Major 1, Grand Finals, hitting a snake, and then saying, oh, sorry, guys, I didn't mean to, you know? Like, it's going to happen.
Boy, if you don't stop, what are you talking about? If it's round 11, I'm snaking my balls off. I'm doing what I got to do, brother. Hey, at the end of the day, what's better? 20,000 in your pocket or a little backlash? You got to see what I'm saying here. But I want to tackle a couple things you said specifically, okay? What do you want the pros to do? It's clearly accidental. It's not very clear that he hit the 2. Do you think the entire team should deserve a whole banning of scrims? Why would other teams want to stop playing subliners? They're one of the best teams out there. So it kind of is detrimental to not only them, to not only subliners practice, but it's also detrimental to the league's practice if they step aside. Additionally, this is kind of the unfortunate situation for Gorillas. They're a good group of guys, coming out challengers, having their first taste of the pros. It's unfortunate, but I think if we saw this happen against FaZe or OpTic or someone with a little bit more community support, it would have been a different situation. I think we can all agree. Had that happen to somebody else, and let's say you had Dashy or even Draza putting out a tweet about it and making it an uproar, I think the reaction would have been a lot worse. But overall, it's just it's too unclear, it's undecisive, and it happened against a team that doesn't really have much maneuvering power within the CDL, unfortunately. So I think it's one of those ones where we have to, note it, but let it go. Let it go. He apologized. Rab coming in with bad takes, but it's all good, guys. It's all good. Rab coming in with some takes that don't make any sense. I think it also
depends on the player, though, huh? Like, if it wasn't Skies and if it was Cell, for example, I think that even if it was against LAG, we would have seen more response. Like, we'd have seen other players tweeting about it and talking about it. We'd have seen Octane do a tweet. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think it would have been a bigger deal had it been a certain name. So I think some players kind of get a pass because they have a cleaner reputation. You know what I'm saying? Like Skies, what I would have liked to see is some of the pros say or agree between themselves or something that on certain occasions you kind of get, maybe as a team, you get one strike. You know what I mean? This is like Subliner's first strike. I don't know how that would go because I don't expect the teams to blacklist a team the first time that somebody snakes, whether it's accidental or not. What's important is that there's still the intention there that they don't do it again. It's understandable that that is the case. But it's like if every team gets like one strike of being out of snake, then you'll just abuse that in Champs Grand Finals, right? So just one of these things that's difficult to enforce, but at least with snaking, you can actually see when they're doing it. Now, there's some debate on whether it's accidental, whether it's a full snake or not, but at least you can see, whereas there's some things like tack sprint or whatever that you can't see, so who knows?
I think the additional thing too, the next coming up in this next set of matches, I believe, or no, excuse me, maybe I think the patch, the patch with the snaking patch, that's gonna help out a bit too soon enough. So I think it's one of those problems that for now is still there, but other players are gonna see the reaction to this, right? The other players are gonna see how everyone kind of jumped on Skies. He had to apologize. So I think I think in the end it's positive for the community overall because now it shows that there's at least, I know how you put it. You said there's no consequence, but I'd argue that not a lot of players want to have a drama on Twitter, have to apologize or do any of that. That's a consequence. So I think you're undermining the fact that Sky's having to come out there and clarify, LAG guys having to come support him, and it's like probably behind the scenes a little bit of a banter and a little bit of a drama. Not many people want to deal with that, especially when they're just want to scrim, focus on their matches, and not be in Twitter drama. We're made for Twitter drama. The COD players aren't made for the Twitter drama, brother.
I get it, yeah. I guess this is the debate I have with you is like, sure, nobody wants to be on a attack grab video getting called cheating by the other pros. Nobody, with a snaking emoji in the thumbnail, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to have to apologize on Twitter and get clowned by the community for it. And also, if Skies didn't snake this past weekend, I did a poll on my YouTube community post, and it was like, right, who's the weekend MVP? Simp, Illy, I think I put Kenny in there, and then Skies. Skies, okay, sure, he's not on the most popular team maybe, but he got 3% of the vote, despite the fact that he actually fried this weekend. Like, Skies was really impactful, was their best player on a team that went 2-0. But he got 3% of the vote because the community had decided, and the community in the chat has decided, and I get it, that Skies is now the enemy, right? And so you don't want that to happen. So you wouldn't snake in a league match. But as you say, Champs Grand Finals was to stop somebody doing it, right? I hope the pros have more integrity than that. I know that some of them do. I know that some of them don't. But I guess time will only tell. It's a big talking point as always.
Of course, yeah. Week 1, things happen. Not the worst abuse that we could have seen. Very, again, it was one where we could definitely argue about it and go back and forth. It's going to be one the fans have to decide what their opinion is on it. But overall, week 2, let's see if anyone else gets into some spats or some drama as well, trying to do accidental snaking or purposeful snaking. Who knows? I know you want to talk about a little bit about a different the OpTic side of things as well. So
we have to talk OpTic. Well, what are we doing? Making content. We're going to talk about OpTic. You know the vibe.
Let's should we get into the clip of Kenny talking about the game 5?
Yeah, let's do it. We can share the clip of Kenny. Yeah,
we're going to
run
game
it,
5
baby.
terminal. We obviously know about this one.
Turn it up a little bit so everyone can make sure everyone in the chat can hear it. Put it up a little bit. There we go.
This one was kind of like a discipline check out of us. We had the chance to win this map. We had 2 rounds where we obviously threw away. A few of them kind of miscommunications. Like the 5-4 round or the 10 round, like I was calling out Sib 1 shot for Pred or AG, and AG child, and he didn't see Sib, but he shot Caesar and ended up dying to Sib. So it's kind of one of those things, and it's a really small thing because I feel like on my LAT team we had a really bad case of like not winning our man advantages, and we this day obviously showcased that for us as well. So it's one of those things we definitely want to fix up on because we're losing these S&Ds round 11, and if we can like win a few more rounds that we should be guaranteed with these man advantages, I feel like we'll be in a really good spot as a team.
I think we could stop it right there. I think it's a good spot. What was your reaction to their inability to close out any search and destroys?
It was a tough week for OpTic in some respects. The fact that they went 1-1 was what they needed to do after the Subliner series. But to be honest, my initial reaction was like, oh my God, here we go again. I've seen this all before. And the concern is for OpTic fans is that every year we talk about the problems that they have in Search and Destroy or just in the gamers in general. And it's always been, all right, what's the issue? Is Hook the problem? Is someone else the problem? And then you turn up to the new season and you see just similar trends, right? It's quite a different team now. There's 2 players have swapped out, but the way they play the round 11s was in some ways kind of similar. Having said that, though, I think they're going to fix these issues. I think this is actually the best possible way for OpTic. I think this is like the best way that OpTic's first week could have realistically gone. They proved they were good in the respawn modes. They lost 3 search and destroys in a row, so they know that's a weakness, but it's not like they got slammed in these searches like Rocket did against Vegas. They were competitive in all the searches. They won some impressive rounds. Shotzi actually played really well, I think, despite the fact that he made some mistakes in some of these situations. And yeah, they bottled a couple of round 11s, but they still got out of the week with a 1-1 record, which was, you know, it's fine. It sets them up quite well, given that they have matches against Carolina, Miami, and I think Vegas that come after the Surge series. They play FaZe last as well. So they're setting themselves up good for a winner's bracket qualification spot. And I think they're going to fix these issues, right? Listening to Kenny's take on this, the way he perceives the game, the way he looks at Search and Destroy, and also just winning in general. Like, I've said this before, and I said this when Draza rejected OpTic and they were going to get Kenny in, that I actually think Kenny's more valuable to OpTic than Draza would have been from that angle, from his perspective on what it takes to win, his championship qualities, what he's going to get out of his teammates. And I do expect Karma to be valuable in this as well. We haven't heard much from Karma, but there's no way that Karma isn't looking at these moments thinking like, what are my bros doing? Like, let's figure this out right now. But even Pred was the one making mistakes, which wasn't necessarily the case last year. So there's work to do for OpTic, but I couldn't really have, in terms of the long-term success of this team, I don't think week 1 could have gone much better.
I think I'm on a similar angle as you. OpTic's week 1 was pretty much exactly like I expected. Communication issues, I think, is the primary. When you're building team chemistry, there's going to be some times where you mess up, you bottle something. As Kenny explains, it was just a miscommunication of not calling out exactly, the placement of the players where they were, and that led to a mistake happening where AG did the correct play. Pred did the correct play. He childed out, guys, one shot, but he just shot the wrong player. It happens. I think over time, OpTic are still building that chemistry. They started the season a bit late, so it's nothing that you wouldn't expect. Fresh team, a lot of fresh faces. Kenny's definitely going to have them in the right direction. Even the way in that clip, how he's breaking it down and talking about it, he's just one of those cerebral COD minds. It's almost like in my opinion, like they have a second coach. It's like you have Karma, you have Kenny leading the entire group, and you have someone that can really break down the game, slow it down for you, and understand exactly what the issues are and how to pinpoint them. And when you have that kind of leadership and direction with talent like Pred, like Shotzi, like Dashy, the absolute firepower that team has, it's one of the, I don't know how it's going to be hard to beat them. It's just a matter of time before they're absolutely slamming, cleaning up their S&D. And we know how they are in Respawn. That's a team that in Respawn is either number 1, number 2, or number 3. And that's, arguable where you could place them, but they're not going to be below that. To me, it's just limited to week 1. It's just getting out the mistakes. It's getting into that competitive environment. OpTic's I think gonna be fine, and this week is a real test, especially with the Surge matchup, to see how they clean up, how they come back, and do they correct the mistakes? Do we see them really flip it on its head, or are they gonna continue making some of these mistakes, and then we see kind of like the the issues with OpTic that have happened over the years where the mistakes kind of continue, the similar mistakes happen again and again. So only time will tell. But for a week 1, I think it's a great week 1 out of OpTic. Every series was close. And honestly, the 1-1 map series count doesn't really fully embody how well they played and how close the matches were.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time until OpTic are just like so good online. I think the concern I have is what happens when they get to LAN, because the team is so ridiculous, and it's only like it feels to me it's only a matter of time until OpTic get to that form online that they get every year at some point where they're just slamming everyone. But maybe not FaZe, maybe not Ultra. Like both those teams look really good. But we know the kind of ridiculous win streaks that OpTic went on in scrims last year behind the scenes. But also what's interesting to me is that OpTic typically start out years strong. This is the classic OpTic trend. And again, as I say, week one, despite how many positives there are, there were still some features of that where it's like, this is classic OpTic, you know? Like, okay, they haven't choked a 5-3 lead in search yet, but it's going to happen. And, you know, they're going to have to learn from it. They're going to have to recover from it. It is how it is. But at the same time, their standard procedure's been that they dominate the early part of the season and then they get complacent or whatever, they fall off and then FaZe win or somebody else wins towards the end of the year. OpTic usually starts strong, but Kenny, maybe historically, just on Thieves in the last few years, has tended to be a player that finishes very well, right? Kenny is, historically speaking, a better player at the end of the game's life cycle than at the start. Maybe with the exception of World War II, where he came out the gates firing, but even then he was great at the end of the year as well. But most years, Kenny just gets better and better. And by the end of the year, Kenny's a monster. And at the start, maybe he's a bit more lackluster. So I think that's something that could play in OpTic's favor this season compared to in recent times. But this is the thing. They go to LAN. Are those mistakes going to be exposed further? Shotzi's search was great this week, but it was also great online last year. It wasn't so great on LAN last year. So I think Pred and Shotzi still have a ways to go in terms of figuring out what their exact plan is in search. Because they did a similar thing to each other for their respective teams. Pred was the absolute do-it-all man in search for Seattle because they were dog shit at search. No disrespect to your boy Lamar, but it ain't looking good for Rocket Rubber, is it? I ain't gonna lie. But you know, that is what it is. But Pred was doing it all for that team. And this year, I think he also is still in that do-it-all in S&D mentality. But Shotzi's also kind of there with him. So that could work really well. But I think that smart teams are going to be able to adapt well to them on LAN.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing to your, specifically about Shotzi. A lot of the, I don't know if a casual fan will catch up on this, but a lot of the risky plays, even if you watch this week, there was times, let's even on Terminal, in that map they're talking about they lost the round 11. There were some plays that if you watch him make were quite risky. He would like jump out of plane to get to or do something kind of wild. Like there was Shotzi's playstyle online sometimes doesn't translate on LAN because people are a lot more aware and a lot more locked in compared to online matches. The environment is different, of course. So I think some of Shotzi's risk taking that he takes online, especially in search, does come back to bite him on LAN. And some of those plays really work well online. So I think it's a play style thing with Shotzi that kind of affects him in search sometimes. But again, I think with the leadership, Karma, Kenny, holding him accountable and definitely letting him know that some of these plays, how he can improve or timings on LAN, I think they're going to be a real dominant force and a team to look at. I mean, every year they're a team to look out for, of course. But I think this year, especially considering that they've kind of filled the gaps into what they need to be the best team. Yeah, they're my top. They're who I want to see. Like I want to watch the most just to see exactly how they perform on LAN. And I think you hit the nail on the head with this one. Yeah, Shotzi's the X factor for the S&D. We've got to see how he clutches up. And
that's going to be interesting. We'll talk about that series in a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
we're also going to talk about though. A big talking point of this past weekend was the whole flank breakdown, shutdown, seemingly intended shutdown by the league. At least that's how it was inferred to be the case initially. We know this year there's a brand new YouTube deal that's come into effect. We thought it would probably be the same as what it was from 2020 to 2022 before we went to Twitch and YouTube this most recent season. Okay, the YouTube deal comes into effect. Probably we've just got another year on the contract. But it seemed to be the case that there's this additional exclusivity clause, which means that Zuma and Scump and any of these other guys can't show any CDL gameplay on Twitch. It's a really frustrating one from the community because all sports have some sort of media rights deal, and it's very difficult to watch any gameplay of anything on any platform without getting a DMCA strike. But esports is built differently to that. It's not the same as traditional sports in terms of the way the content is made, in terms of the way the community operates, and especially when the CDL comes out with a YouTube deal, that it was apparently these additional contract clauses, whatever, were not told to Zuma and Scump. It looks like an attack on your biggest creators, or it looks like you're attempting to force them onto the platform that you want to operate from. It's not a good look for anyone involved. But now they've almost like backtracked, apparently, according to Zuma, and said that actually, no, he can do it. So either Zuma's, chucking them a fiver under the table to get, or there's something else going on here. It's kind of a wild situation. I'm not going to lie, Ace.
It's hard to make, because we're not so involved on that side of things directly. It's a communication between the breakdown, the flank, and the league. It's a very direct line. But it's a very weird situation that within a couple days, things switched so fast. Initially, it seemed like the absolute worst move. I mean, I'm sure they saw the community reaction, which was absolutely horrible. The entire chat, I don't know if you saw at some point, but they banned out the words "the flank" out of the YouTube chat. So it definitely was affecting them. They were for sure noticing how the community was reacting to it. Why they caved so fast? Was it because the community? Was it because Tommy maybe had a conversation and they found some middle ground? Did YouTube reach out? I really wonder what happened behind the scenes to clarify this, to correct it. But at the end of the day, I think every fan, every creator, everyone's happy. I think that they conceded a little bit and gave the opportunity for people to use the CDL, use the Call of Duty clips. Why would it's the basis of your whole community, your whole scene, your whole everything. It's really wild that they even tried to do this. And I think, again, it just shows a disconnect, again, from multiple times of the league and the fan base. I've said it before, I think I've said it before, like, the people who run the league, the people who are behind the scenes of the league are very corporate. I don't think they understand esports. I don't think they understand the basis of building a community within something niche like this, like Call of Duty, or even more general esports. They're just not tapped in. They're trying to put how they do business and how they see growth on the outside and other things to this, but it doesn't work the same, and you're going to get backlash. And I think the backlash is well deserved.
I think the frustrating thing is just the way it's almost like it's caught up to the CDL in some respects. When they signed that deal, I believe it was a $160 million deal with YouTube over 3 years for the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League. I think that was the deal. When FaZe was over there, of course, as head of YouTube Gaming. So we had the in, That ain't the case anymore. And YouTube wants stupid. Like, to be honest, the reason why I think we were on Twitch and YouTube last year was just because nobody wanted to pay for the exclusive rights. Twitch don't have the money to do it. Probably kick.com would pay us for it. But I don't think anybody really wants that. So, I think that's the reason why we didn't have a deal last year, is just because I think people thought when the season started that, we're on Twitch, they must have a Twitch deal. But that weren't the case. And then after a few months, they said, all right, let's just do it on YouTube as well, because that doesn't hurt anyone. And it was great. I mean, what we had last year was fantastic. But the problem is the CDL then goes back to YouTube and says, oh, hang on a second. We got all this viewership. Have a look at our stream numbers. 100K. Have a look at Scump's stream numbers, 150K. And Zuma's stream numbers, 20K or whatever. We were having 300K viewers for some of the matches last year because the league would have 120, Scump would have 150, Zuma would have a big chunk more as well, and then a few other streamers as well. And the CDL have then gone to YouTube and said, hey, we can give you 320,000 views on these matches. And YouTube are like, we ain't stupid anymore, dog. We know your game. It's a lot of it is the co-streaming that's given that the value. So then YouTube are like, oh, well, or maybe the CDL are like, oh, well, what if we say that they have to do it on YouTube as well? You know what I mean? And then they try and get the other shows on there. So it's like, I think the problem is that YouTube aren't paying the CDL anywhere near as much as they used to be getting paid. And in addition to that, YouTube ain't stupid like they used to be when esports is going crazy. So there just isn't enough money to go around anymore.
Yeah, it's an interesting place to be in. It's telling again for what the future of esports will be like. People are getting smart to it, but maybe a little too strict. They're trying to. The way they're doing business right now is going to destroy certain scenes. We've seen a few leagues kind of go down the drain. We've seen a lot of teams dissolve. This is not helpful for any scene. It's not helpful for the esports scene. And I think it's I'm glad they stopped it, but it's worrying the fact that they tried to implement it and enforce it in the first place. That's a sign that like, it just puts a little fear in my heart for other esports, maybe who don't have such a community, how they can kind of get bullied by platforms, and maybe I don't know. It puts me in a really iffy place seeing this happen. But I'm glad that we fixed it and creators can have that freedom again. So
look, it's the same story for you or any creator, right? Like, let's say I'm Shotzi or I'm a player and I want to watch my matches back on stream and share insights with the fans. Well, I can't do that there. I have to do it on YouTube, apparently. So it's like, okay, it's better than not being able to do it at all in some ways. Like, I know some people who want to make content around Formula One. And this is crazy as well, by the way. Every creator that makes videos on the Formula One game, literally the game, at some point gets a copyright claim from Formula One management because the images are quite similar, so they think it's actually real Formula One footage being shown. And it always happens because F1 and many other sports are super, and like football as well, soccer. This is a big story. I don't know if any of you guys know that Seth Fowler guy, but he used to run content at NRG. He recently started like a faceless YouTube channel in soccer, and basically all of his videos get mass copyright claims just because that's how it works. So you can't make content around the scene because the media rights owners that are paying billions of dollars for the media rights want all of that to belong to them. And that's okay when your sport is soccer. You know what I mean? Like when there's billions of dollars, when fans are worth a lot because they'll buy tickets, buy season tickets, buy merchandise, buy jerseys and all this, and the players are making tens of $millions, hundreds of $millions a year. That's okay. You don't need the content to grow the scene. But in something like Call of Duty or in esports in general, and especially the way that this community operates, you can't afford to get rid of that stuff, because if you do, you're just stagnating the potential growth of your scene. So it's frustrating to see, but I think that in hindsight, it looks like it's going to be okay. I mean, Arcetes accidentally brought this up on stream the other day, and he accidentally brought a clip up of him playing against Boston, I think, and he was like, oh shit, I can't show this. And I think now he probably can again, as long as it's maybe just clips. Like, I don't have an issue with people having to bring up stuff and then making transformations. One of the things that annoys me most as a content creator is when people like XQC watch a Lemino video for an hour and a half and they just say nothing and it's just the video in the background. Like, that type of react meta is super frustrating, and I get the place of it. And it's, it's obviously happened to us as well. We make videos on Breaking Point, people just sit there and react to them, and we have our thoughts on that, but I get it. So sure, there should be some transformation involved, but we need something. You feel me?
The irony of Rab saying React content is amazing, because you are the GOAT of the React content of the COD community. So it's funny you say that. But overall, I mean, yeah, it is.
I can clap back to that, but I'll let you rock.
Yeah, let me rock.
5
Thank
seconds.
You. I appreciate it. No, for me, it's chat, bring back Mixer. You know what I'm saying? Microsoft, come back, get us back on the same platform. Let us do what we got to do. Let the community grow. Let us put out content. Let us get clips. Let us go crazy. That's what we need. We need everyone to grow. We need COD to grow. We need to get back to the glory days, the Black Ops 2 days. We need to be the top esport out there and make it happen. And this kind of stuff, this kind of roadblock is the polar opposite of what we need in any scene, including and mainly our love, Call of Duty. So that's what I got. That's what we got with this one, man. But speaking of trash, we had Temp say something about a few CDL players, and it made us wonder. So let's chat. Who do you think he's talking about here? Let's open this up. Yeah, we have Big Don Temp saying MFs. I wonder what that means. No idea. My pure virgin soul doesn't know what that is. MFs getting paid big boy bucks and cannot shoot their gun / get a goddamn kill. Talent over camaraderie or camaraderie over talent. You obviously need both.
That's crazy, dog.
I don't know. Who is he referring to, Rab? What do you think? What's your reaction? Who do you think he's referring to?
He tweeted this during the LA Gorilla series when they were kind of getting a bit slammed, because they were getting slammed by Toronto, right? They kind of got slammed by Toronto. They won a map, but they won the search. they lost the respawns. So Donny tweeted this out. As far as I'm saying, basically saying like these guys are trash, go back in the league. And I get it, right? From Donny Temp's point of view, he's obviously a good player, but I think at times these players need to focus more on catching some dubs rather than bringing people down. Because we've said it before, a lot of players in this league are worthy of being in the league, and there's lots of players that are outside of the league that are also worthy of being in the league. But there's only 48 spots, so if you're in challenges, you've just got to prove you're undeniable. And let's be honest here, Temp for the last few years in the Pro League, has he proved to be a caliber of player that can't possibly be dropped? Is he an undeniable level player? Like, as far as I'm concerned, no. They got rid of him from Vegas, and they're still winning series, you know what I mean? Like, okay, his team was trash a couple of years ago. They went 4-22 or whatever. They had a terrible season. They had like 4 wins. And still Temp was okay. But it's not LAG's fault that no other team wanted to pick up Temp this season. They could have done. There were teams rebuilding. There were loads of teams rebuilding. And there's a few spots available. You know, Temp could have gone to subliners where Sib is. Temp could have gone to, you know, could have gone for Priester in place of him on Boston. But he could have gone back to Thieves in place of Cammy maybe. I mean, again, any of these offers, the pros didn't want to go for it. And for whatever reason that is, maybe they don't think he's, you know, good enough or a good enough teammate, or there's other reasons. And, you know, Temp's a great player for sure. He's puts up good numbers. But at the end of the day, there's got to be a reason why he's not getting offers. And I get it's frustrating from these players' perspectives, but I don't think tweeting this stuff helps him get a spot back in the league. Like the teams I mentioned might make a change this season. They might want to. But are they going to see that tweet and think, oh, yeah, Temp's our boy, like, let's bring him in? Because, you know, it's not like they're winning everything in challenges either. They're a good challenges team, but they kind of got bodied the other day. They got 3'd by Team Fellow.
Boy, if you don't stop and put some goddamn respect on my boy Donny Temp immediately, sir, immediately, expeditiously, understand, Donny Temp he has a reputation as a bad teammate. We can talk about that, and you can focus on that if you like. But don't you ever, Rab, say that this man wasn't shooting on the map. If you can look this up statistically, if you guys want to go look, please go look. Donny has one of the most consistent KDs across the years of any single player. You can go look this up. To say that he wasn't piecing or shooting, especially considering last year, I mean, I think he was Legion's best player. May have been their best, maybe the second best, arguable, but I think he was their best player. He was doing work out here. So first off, let's not disrespect Donny Temp. Bad situation, his reputation follows him. I'll give you that, which is unfortunate because he deserves a spot in this league. He is better than multiple players in this league. He deserves a sub spot at least. Who are these subs? These are random guys that we've never heard of. Half of them are guys we don't even know. He deserves a sub spot at least. But let's address this point though, right? Before I come at, not coming at your neck, let's address the point though, right? Talent over camaraderie or camaraderie over talent. That's his main point, right? And then we also, I don't know if anyone caught this. I just want to bring this to everyone's attention. You have Doug kind of addressing your point as well. It's match 1 versus Toronto. Give it time. He says, you're assuming I'm talking about LAG. What you trying to say, Douglas? So again, Rab, slammed,
that's so
choke
sarcastic. There's no way. He's definitely taking the piss. He knows who he's talking about.
An absolute choke slam.
He doesn't know who he's talking about.
But the talent versus I want to keep the tweet up because I address this point. The talent versus camaraderie versus talent. You need both. In my opinion, the league, as of right now, is the perfect balance, in my opinion, with a few people who need to be swapped in and out of talent over camaraderie. Because you can see at this point, compare it to the first year of the CDL, MW 2019. It wasn't like where a 7th seed team was going to beat a 1st or 2nd team. These days in the league, any team could take a map or a series off of a FaZe, off an Ultra, off an OpTic. So clearly the talent in the league has risen dramatically over the years, which is a great thing. The camaraderie aspect, I actually would argue, has decreased because we've seen less players from the CDL. A lot of the older guys, even if you want to say, you mentioned Fellow's a guy who, if camaraderie was a top point, he should be in the league then, right? He should be someone that he's been around for 10 plus years in the CDL scene. Why is he not in the league then? If your argument, Rab, is, oh, this camaraderie stuff and all this is so important, Someone like him should be in the league. Someone like Donnie, who's been around since AW, absolutely frying kids with hook, should be in the league. So it kind of goes against what you said. And in my opinion, yeah, if he is talking about LAG, I think that is a little, that's not the right move. You shouldn't be, dogging on somebody. The guy's first chance in the league. You got Estriel. You got some guys who are, DiamondCon coming back. They've done some work in challengers. You got to give them their credit. But at the same time, whether he's talking about an individual team or an individual player, Donnie Temp should be in the league. That's without question. That is without doubt or question.
I mean, you literally just said that Temp should be a sub over some of these nobodies. Then you got to say, actually, I got a second. They did do some stuff in challenges. But look, my perspective is that Temp is a good enough player to be in the league. And I do agree in part with what you say, that in order to be the best team in the league, you need to stack talent. And the frustrating thing that I have with a lot of these teams is they seem satisfied to be like 8th, But then again, what can you do? You can't get Simp, you can't get Hydra, you can't get Pred. So you got to make the best of the situation you can. But then again, you look at it, let's say Heretics, right? Spanish team. You put Temp in there, it doesn't make the team better because you lose the chemistry, you lose the culture. Like, that's a no-brainer. But it's the same for other teams as well, where just putting Temp into Gorillas doesn't necessarily make them a better team because they've got the chemistry between those guys. And look, I clown on the Friendship League as well, better than anybody does, as far as I'm concerned. But I still understand its place, that it has value in creating a team with a good culture and a good environment. Now, that team might only be good enough to get top 8. And that's the part that frustrates me, that teams are happy to choose players that they know aren't really that good, but they've got the chemistry to maybe make it to champs. The alternative is you try and stack talent with guys like Donnie Temp on the roster, and the chemistry might be absolute dog shit. And sure, you're going to get more upset victories maybe playing like that, but your average placing is going to be 12th. So I understand what the teams do.
Rab, I'm gonna put you you made this trap card for yourself.
Oh no.
But who are you referring to exactly in the league that does this?
There's plenty of teams that do this. Florida, like, with a classic team. Rocker are an interesting one because they actually think they're making good teams, but they still just make dog shit teams, you know what I mean? Like, they think they're actually putting together competitive rosters, but they just never do. Most of the teams that aren't OpTic, Toronto, even like basically the top 6 teams. So Thieves, OpTic, FaZe, Toronto Subliners, and like, what other ones did I not mention? I think I mentioned the top 6 basically. But it's the top 4 this season plus Thieves. Let's just say top 5.
Sure.
Those are the teams that take it serious. The other teams, they're here for the rise. They're here to try and make it a chance.
You think Thieves took this roster period serious?
I mean, they run out of money, What can I say?
Okay, so I mean, you including them there, again, it shows a little bit of, I don't know, a disdain for something, because that clearly is not true this year at all. I would argue, again, I don't know, you hitting me with, guys, he's hitting me with cheese right now. This is like absolute cheese ball stuff right here. No.
The chat knows I'm speaking facts.
No, man, I think, okay, not to bring up someone that obviously people are going to be like, oh, he's only bringing him up because it's related to him, but like, Rocker took a chance, right? If you look at Rocker's squad, that's a chance. That's exactly the epitome of what you're speaking on. That is that's a chance built on talent. You have, leadership, Lamar. Lin's absolute risk take, but did great in the challenger scene. An absolute, I think it's a dynamic player. Communications, maybe, that's slightly going to be an issue, but no problem. You saw what Hydra did. We saw what the capabilities are with players that are overseas that don't get the opportunity. Then you have a player like Vivid, who I think hasn't been utilized in the proper system. And then you have a player like Awaken, who gets his kills every time. L trigger's kind of heavy. But again, speaking on it, I think the way you're speaking in a general sense, most teams this year specifically, last year I agree with you. This year, a lot of risks were taken with a lot of teams. A lot of people moved parts, kind of twisted and turned, and I think are taking, like, if you look at Vegas, Carolina, Rocker, I mean, I would throw Thieves in there too, even though it's a money situation. But like, even that roster is really like an experimental kind of talent based. Oh, we've seen what they've been at certain points of their career roster. So I would argue that your point is invalid, absolutely invalid. And this year is the best epitome of people experimenting with talent, trying to put it together, and camaraderie actually being the least important. With the exception, if he is talking about this, I will say, The LAG situation, we saw what happened. We saw with the, you know, the ASIM, the Gunless, these guys getting dropped and all that. So that was very unfortunate. But with the exception of that coach doing what he did, I don't really think anyone else you can really say is camaraderie over talent. Everyone else is trying really hard this year to make it to the top spot, to compete with the top guys, and make their way out of that odd purgatory middle ground of the CDL standings. So another trash
I get it.
take.
It's like, you know, like maybe it's a way to at least take in the chat. Like maybe it's dope or nope, which maybe people get to figure out at some point. But I think like, yeah, the teams try and think they build good rosters on paper. Like they try and straddle the balance of a team that's going to have some chemistry and it's going to work and it's going to have enough talent there. But a lot of the time they just get it. I mean, it's like, let's say Rocker's situation, right? Let's take Lamar out of the question. You've got a couple, because, okay, Lamar, leader, whatever. We know what he brings to the team. You've got options there. You've got Awakening in the team, but not Temp, right? Like Temp's trying to fit into these AR roles. There just aren't that many of them. Because most teams have.
Wait, I have to stop. Well,
Okay,
this year, there's not AR roles. This year in this game, when they're running 3 ARs a map, you're telling me there's no AR roles? Rab, you're better than this. You're better than this, Rab.
Right. Your brain is so small, honestly. When you're building a team, you build 2 SMGs, 2 ARs, and usually your main AR is going to be a veteran figure, a guy like Clay, a guy like Accuracy, a guy like Slasher. Players like this come into those roles, and that's how it's been for a very long period of time. The flex role, which is where Temp would habitate, really. I mean, look, sure, Temp could probably come in and run a sub somewhere, but I don't think that's what he's really going to be doing. He's a flex player. That is the most competitive role in the league. The SMGs are where you get your chances. Players like Gwyn, players like Linz, you know, the rookies, like Snoopy, the guys coming in get the chances in SMGs because those are the spots that are harder to fill. Those are the spots that there are less players that are good at. So I don't think Temp could be too mad that he hasn't got a spot because at the end of the day, sure, there's a lot of ARs on the map in this game at the moment, but when you're actually building a proper team, there is basically one spot that he's going for. And a lot of the time, the other AR spot is filled by a veteran AR player who's there for leadership, and you can debate the merits of whether that's a good or a bad idea. And then your second AR player is meant to be the Slayer. So, you know, Temp's competing with all those guys. He could have gone back to Thieves, but Thieves didn't want him.
See, this, okay. That's fine. That last point, fine. But going back to it, that once this year got revealed, once we're starting to play week 1, week 2, and actually scrim and realizing it's going to be a 3 AR game, 50% of these teams are stupid ostrich head in the dirt if they don't think they should pick up somebody like Temp, and I'll even throw some other names. Pick up someone like Gunless. You should, now that you know this is the meta of the game, you're paying players the minimum regardless. Who cares? Just pick them up. They're the better player. In this meta, in this game, if you want to win with a 3 AR game, it's not a traditional like most Call of Duty's a 2 AR, 2 sub game. If it was, okay, different story. This is 3 ARs. Grab the ones who've been competing and doing well with ARs for years. Donnie's one of the most consistent players in the league, that's been in the league, and has been frying the last couple of years with an AR. You have Gunless in challengers as well. You know, I think a lot of teams are obviously it's really early on, so I'm gonna calm down a little bit. Rab.
It's good, bro. You're good,
it's a little early on in the season to make changes, and everyone wants to work out their teams, but it's unfortunate that everything was made with the basis that it would be a 2 AR, 2 sub game. A lot of teams would benefit by swapping out one of their proposed subs or flexes, but really meant to be a sub, for an AR dominant player that can play both roles, like Temp, like Gunless. That's
yeah. I think I agree that Temp I think Temp could improve CDL teams. Like I think putting Temp in the role for some of those players could actually make it better. Like personally, I'm not sold on Awakening, really. Like I wouldn't be massively surprised if putting Temp in for him could work. I'm not saying it would, but I think it's something to think about. But I think it's too early to make those decisions, right? And when the time comes, I just think what Temp should focus on is, instead of necessarily bringing players in the league down, just focus on being so good in challenges and so good in 8s when you play against the pros that as soon as the team is considering changes, they hit up Donnie. That's the plan. And maybe part of that plan is to talk shit on Twitter. Maybe that helps because it keeps you in the top of the mind. I don't know. I don't know how the politics work. But That's got to be the focus, right?
Yeah, this I could agree with you. Less chatter, more action. Less chatter, more action. Speaking of action, we have an amazing lineup of matches this week. Quite a few. I actually wrote for an article for BP about my top 4 power rankings for this week. But I think for everybody, the number one matchup of this weekend, 100%, the one that's the most anticipated, the showdown, the final showdown that we've been waiting for years, almost more than a year in the making, I think, about at this point. OpTic versus Surge. There's so much to say about it. I'm going to just say this small little thing of we get to see Illy go against the squad that dropped him and stopped believing in him. You have Rambo coaching against the team and having passion against the guys who he left, the organization he left. You even have, you have Hook now coming against them for the first time. There's so many storylines. It's one of the most, I don't know. I argue this is going to be the top watched match and like the peak of CDL viewership of, so far. I think this is going to be the number one watched match across the board. What do you think, Reb? Are you excited for it?
I'm excited for this for sure. I think, like, as I said, maybe if it was Saturday, Sunday, then I think maybe it'd be more prime time. But still, it's like going to be, this is the one I'm most looking forward to this weekend. Illy plays Shotzi, or Shotzi plays Illy for the first time in their career. They've never played each other before because they've teamed together the whole time. And now they're on separate teams because Illy was out of the picture for the last quite some time. So it's going to be a great series. It's tough to say who's going to win, really. I'm interested to see if we see a terminal hardpoint in here because they've both played it and done pretty well on it so far. I wonder if they'll kind of square up there. I don't know if OpTic necessarily should. Pred versus his former team as well is one, but I think Rambo versus Dashi is always going to be fun. Both of those guys want to prove something, right? And look, at the end of the day, it's only the online league match, but if Rambo can come in with the Surge boys and get the dub, then he's going to have something to say that his philosophy on how to play the game is better than Dashi's philosophy on how to play the game. It's obviously early days. My feeling, though, is that Pred is going to come out and absolutely shit on these guys. Like, I think Pred's going to have a series today. At the end of, like, as much as it's unlucky for Hook that he got dropped for Pred, and I'm sure that he feels like maybe that shouldn't have happened or whatever. Pred is just built different. And my feeling is Pred just going to come out and show why OpTic have him instead of Hook. That could happen, or Illy shows that they shouldn't have dropped him. It's kind of one of the two, but those are my two players to watch, basically, Pred and Illy today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Pred is going to absolutely demolish them. Pred, if you had to put a gun in my head and honestly say, pick one player who you want on your team, Hook or Pred, I'm picking Pred 100 out of 100 times. AG is definitely just so good in every game mode. His difference maker, even we saw last week in the stats, he was, his plus minus is always consistently positive or towards the top of the team relative if they had a bad map or whatever it may be. So he's always playing well. It's just interesting, right? It's interesting to see who dominates this meta first, considering the players on the teams, like I said, it's a 3 AR game, so it's different than a traditional 2 AR 2 sub game. So it really, whoever comes out and is more comfortable in these roles already, because you have all premier talent across the board on both teams, is gonna take this. If I was to put a prediction on this, chat's not gonna like this one. I'm leaning 3-2 Surge because I think there's going to be some bad plays made on OpTic's side, and it's going to be a little frantic. It's going to go down the wire, and I think the communication stuff, as much as we talked about earlier that they have to fix it, I think there's going to be some things that slip, and at the end of the day, the S&D talent on Surge's team, I would argue, besides AG, it slightly outdoes this OpTic roster. Plus, you have a kind of grinders who play Chow, like our cities plays Chows all the time in S&D. So you have people who kind of love playing S&D Chows as well on that team. I don't know. I think 3-2 Surge. Chad is not liking that one.
I think it's a plausible take, though. Like, I think it's either 3-1 OpTic or it's 3-2 Surge. I'd be massively surprised if there's a domination fest either way. I think it'd be very impressive if anyone like comes out with the fire. I think if it goes game 5, I would lean Surge as well. I think that they look great in Search and Destroy. I think Illy will put on some sort of masterclass game 5 if it happens. But my prediction is it'll be 3-1. I think OpTic will win the game 2 Search. I think they'll finally get a Search and Destroy double on the board, and then they should have enough to get over the line in 4. So yeah, I think if it goes 5, I would probably lean Surge's way. But I think this is such a coin toss series today that it's quite tough to predict. But it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, you say they come through and take over that second Search and Destroy. I argue that they come out and wreck Surge in the first hard point. Actually, I think again, OpTic's respawn is insane. So I think they take both hard points. They lose the Surge, they lose the control, and they lose the last Surge. That's why I go 3-2. That's my argument for 3-2. That Seattle's a little, we just saw them dominating across the board. So I think respawns, hard points, OpTic will take those and push the series. But in the end, yeah, the S&D prowess of Seattle is one to consider. And changes don't happen in 1 week. They happen over time with more VOD and more review and more gameplay. So will OpTic be able to turn it around in just 1 week? Today, I guess the real test is today, to be honest.
I hope Illy's got like a tweet cooking. I hope he's got something in the drafts if they win.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I will be there for that.
It's going to be just I feel like it should be a GIF of something, and that's it. Just one GIF, and this can be done. Moving on, though, let's jump to another exciting match. Toronto versus Carolina. Man, you have made bank off of this little rivalry here, so I'm going to let you take this one and kind of coordinate why this one's so exciting.
Yeah, I'll go for it. I mean, Scrappy versus Clayster has been one of the best intra-personality rivalries of the season so far. They've had a lot of back and forths. Clay has smoked Scrap on occasion. Remember this clip? I think it was on Invasion quite early into the game where Clay slammed him and Scrap had like 16 kills and Clay had 30 something, and he was like, "Scrap, that's all you're giving me, like dropping those numbers for the L." And then Scrap has bounced back and said lots of stuff like, "Oh, Clay, I can't wait to see another top 12 year from you, another non-champs making performance and all this stuff." So they've gone back and forth a lot, those two guys. And we know that Clay, look, what happened last time out when Aches was roasting him on the flank and he comes out the next day and drops a great series and ninja diffuses, and ends up getting the victory against the Vegas guys. So when his back is against the wall, I think he tends to play some of his best COD. So I think he's going to come out well. But the reality is that Scrap 90% of the time backs up his shit talk. Obviously, everyone is going to roast him because of the biggest series of his life in Champs Grand Finals. He shut the bed and dropped a 0.7. The Bulldog had him. But most of the time, Scrap backs up his talk. So, and I just think Toronto are much better, Like the fact that LA Gorillas looks pretty good against the Subliners, but they kind of got slammed in the respawns by Toronto. Like there wasn't many series last week that I felt where, I wouldn't say foregone conclusions, but sometimes you're watching a series and you just know that one of the teams has it in the bag. Like it just feels like they're better. I felt that with FaZe last week when they played. I felt that with Toronto when they played Gorillas. And I kind of felt that with OpTic when they played Rocker. But I didn't get that feeling for many other series. So Toronto impressed me last week. And they play a Ravens team that was a bit suspect, I'm not going to lie. And I think Real is again he's a bit of a streaky player. So as much as I'd love to see Clay smoke Scrap, like, yeah, it happened, dog. Like 3-0 Toronto.
You kind of took the words out of my mouth with this one, to be honest. You kind of addressed every little talking point I had in my head. It was like a little checkbox, right? I was like, I got this, checkbox, checkbox. Clay is really one player who, whenever there's adversity against him, or even just a passionate series, he's going to come out and really push hard comparatively to compared to his normal times. So he's going to be shooting, but will the rest of the team be backing up his smack talk? And the X factor for me for this series can get extended, like you said, is Real. Not only this year, but last year as well. I don't know, Real. If you watched him, if you actually paid attention to his time, not only in the league but challenges as well, he does play. He's either winning you a series or is absolutely shitting the bed and losing you a series. He has to find a level of consistency, and this is a hot take, but I'll be the one to say it because everyone else is a little bit too worried to say things. Real, I think, is the player in the league to me that is the most I'm the most worried about. I'm the most worried about to get subbed out, to get replaced. Because again, in this 3 AR meta, he needs to find his footing quickly because there's so much talent sitting on the sidelines, foaming at the mouth for that spot, and well deserving of the spot. And if he can't get his act together quickly, yeah, I'm just worried about his place in the league, to be honest. But overall, Ultra, we only got to see them play one time last week. They look dominant, and the team on paper looks ridiculous. I have them as the team that's gonna, might end the season with the best record, the best map count record, because I believe that they have no real fundamental flaw. Envoy comes in, fixes some of their respawn issues, right? With Hixie, Hixie was great in S&D. Hixie was great at times when he needed to be, but then you have someone who can really carry if he needs to and can really push a respawn along. Yeah, Toronto don't really have a flaw, in my opinion. It's very tough to find a fundamental flaw with that team. So I will say 3-1 Ultra. I think Clay coming out shooting will come out hot, maybe take a respawn, maybe take an S&D off them, but it's going to simmer down fairly quick. By the end of the series, Toronto will take the series.
I get it, yeah, for sure. Let's do FaZe Surge. That's next up on our list.
FaZe Surge.
And
yeah.
Man, this is a really interesting, what a week for Surge, right? They went 2-0 last week against pretty decent teams, Thieves and Boston, you'd think. And this week they play OpTic and FaZe. That is a tough week. If they want to prove that they can actually be serious, they need to win one of these series. And also I will say that FaZe versus Surge, it doesn't seem to matter what team Surge put out. They always have something in this game, in this matchup. We've seen it in Cold War when Classic, who's now on FaZe, to try and break the curse, of course he's their sub, right? When he came into that Surge team and they took FaZe down at Major 5, the only tournament that FaZe didn't make the finals in that year was that Major 5 when Classic and Surge knocked him out in that Game 5 standoff, whatever it was. And then the last couple of years, okay, when Pred has been there, but they've had a really good record against FaZe. They beat them did they not beat them in the finals? They won a Major 3? I'm pretty sure they must have done because FaZe were in every finals that year.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that happened. But it just seems like Surge, whatever reason, whenever I see FaZe versus Surge, it just seems to be a very interesting game, even if the teams you wouldn't necessarily think is the case. So I'm going to say the same thing again. I think this is going to go 5. I saw FaZe go 5 against Boston. I also think that FaZe are, I don't know, it's still early days in the season, but I think they're very comfortable that they know that they're really good. So I think that, and they know that they're going to be winners bracket. They've started up 2-0. I think they'll come into the series and think, they might even be thinking about map pool stuff as well. They might think, all right, let's play this, let's play that. Let's just get some more reps on this particular map. And it might leave them, I wouldn't say they're vulnerable. They're still series favorites, but I can see a Surge in 5 here. I really want to believe that Surge are going to be a contender Major 1. And I think that they really have to win one of these series this week if they want to kind of prove that they're going to be in the ballpark. So I'm taking underdog pick, Surge beat FaZe in 5.
Surge beat FaZe in 5. That's a radical take out of you, brother. Not only is that a radical take, you also have RCDs coming back hot, kind of coming out hot this year. Had a very slow year last year, plus going against his former team. A little bit of a rivalry existing there. I think is going to be really interesting to see. I'm really happy for Alec. I will say that too. I want to address that. I'm happy for Alec that this year it looks like, at least, again, I'm speaking early, but it's okay. We can have our overreactions to week 1. It's no problem. I'm happy for Alec that it looks like this year with a good team around him, he's going to be able to be shooting and have a good year. Yeah, I'm happy he's going to come out and really show his talent like that. Against FaZe, it's going to be a great matchup. I think the series will get extended. It won't be anything easy. I don't think it'll be a 3-0 at all. But I still have FaZe coming out and winning, specifically because of the SMG duos. Excuse me. I think Simp and Abizi, although how much are they using SMGs? Obviously, that's up for debate. But you know what I'm trying to say. Simp and Abizi are just Simp playing at MVP caliber level. I don't think that's going to stop. I think this is the type of game that's made for him. And, man, I think, Seattle's is gonna realize very quick playing against him at this caliber and this form is it's not really possible to beat them. I mean, it's gonna be very, very tough. I have a 3-1 FaZe for the dub.
I get that. Okay, let's talk about the final series we're going to discuss the weekend. This is probably going to be a massively important series as well, which is Thieves versus Gorillas, the LA battle, which is coming up on Sunday, just after the Carolina versus OpTic series. Thieves at this point would have played Boston, which they played today, which is a massive series. And Gorillas are still going to be probably 0-2. Yeah, I think this is Gorillas' only game of the weekend. So this is, if you lose this, losers bracket is looking very likely. It's a really interesting series, Gorillas Thieves, because on paper you'd think Thieves are better, but Thieves they have more talent. But Gorillas feel like they're a little bit more together at the moment. To be honest, the first weekend, I'm a big fan of Afro, and I think he can be really good, and I expect him to have some great series. And he did play well in that Search and Destroy against FaZe, but getting that consistency there has always been a bit of an issue for him. And you know, let's be honest, when Thieves were formed, what did we say? We're going to need Mr. Cammy MVP, Mr. Coldball Cammy to come back. I've played 2 series, but he's not here yet, is he? So, you know, and I think against a team that actually, you know, Gorillas, against New York Subliners, they look pretty good. Like, they should have won that series. I think you get these teams that, especially in the early part of the season, they might not have the most talent, and come March and April, they're probably going to be getting slammed. But in the early part of the season, even teams such as, you know, Team Caliber at the start of World War II, sure, they had great players. Kenny was there, of course, Accuracy, he had a great season that year. Chino, and then Theory. It's like, you're telling me that's the team that won back-to-back championships? Theory literally dropped a .78, and they won New Orleans. Like, it was insane. But that's the difference between a team that understood how to play the game and teams that didn't, and had really good chemistry as a team. So I'm not saying Gorillas are going to win Major 1, but I'm saying that this is their time to be better. So I'm concerned for Thieves here. Like, depending on how Thieves look against Boston, this is like legit kind of like a battle of the shitters series. I'm taking LAG dub. I'm going back-to-back upsets here.
Well. Battle of the shitters is a way to put it. I think yeah, it's a bit harsh, but it's, you know, very early on. I think what you said about LAT is very, very true. That team's potential is unfortunately not being hit. Where, you know, if everyone was in peak form, if we had MVP Cammy, if we had even Afro when he was, I'll be honest, there was a point when Afro was the number 1 or number 2 most, like, highest prospect for a sub. Everyone was looking at Afro. He was absolutely having in the league. And then you have Ghosty, you know, played well. He played well last week, but we need him to definitely coordinate these guys, get them in line. Joe Deceives. I mean, Joe Deceives is kind of a question mark for me personally. His come up in the league is a little, I don't know, a little interesting. He definitely had moments when I saw him snapping on people last week that was very impressive. Very impressive. I was like, wow, this guy really has a gunny that needs to be, you know, Ghosty needs to come in and lead them. I'm leaning on the championship caliber coaching staff, J-Cap and Shane, to really get this team where they're, you know, get their heads right, get them where they need to be, and get them aligned in system. That's a coaching staff that has made, you know, from the highest highs to the lowest lows. You know, people called for Cap to get dropped multiple times and were on his neck, and then eventually, obviously, you know, they're taking championships and they turned the team around and it really made something special happen. So I think LAT is where I lean on, but LAG had a great, you know, they had an interesting week last week. They had a great week. I would call it a great week. Obviously, O2 is never a great week, but yeah, LAG has some potential. You kind of said they had a series they should have won against Subliners, but I'll argue it's like, did Subliners just play down to their level and not have it? Did Subliners have a bad series, or did Gorillas have a good series? So that's always a discussion, an argument that, you know, you can always balance on.
Hydra had all his controller issues as well. You know how it is with Hydra.
Exactly.
Like, he's always got some shit going on.
Yeah, there's always, if it's a bad series from Hydra, you have to consider what's happening. And I would say the other thing I want to point out about this series specifically, just what makes it a little bit important, is that one team here is going to gather some momentum. So that's like the number one thing I think they need. They need some confidence, some momentum to really drive them ahead and try to make it out of those bottom 4, bottom 3, 0-2 standings. So it can really be a push, you know, small matches like this against the battle of the shitters, right? these kind of matches, these little freebies for these bottom teams are going to be the difference makers to who goes to champs and has a chance to actually compete for the big prize or doesn't. So these kind of matches are super important. I have, I'm going to go with LAT 3. I'm going to go LAT 3-0, actually.
Damn, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
I think
he contemplates it for like 2 minutes and then he says, bang, you guys are dog shit.
I believe in JCap. I believe in Shane that much that they are going to sit down with these guys, put them in their place, and watch VOD, make them sit there and go through everything, and they're going to come out shooting and moving differently this week, 100%.
Yeah, I think like it's tough for me because if I'm telling Thieves have if I'm predicting they're gonna lose to Gorillas, then I guess I'm also predicting Thieves are losing to Boston, huh? Which would put them 0-4, which is pretty rough. But Thieves do love a good 0-5 stage. Like, and this maybe they can push that to 0-7. The last couple of years, even when Thieves were good, they were popping 0-5 stages. So would you put it past them to have a bit of a shocker online? I wouldn't say it's out of the realms of possibility.
Absolutely.
But I think that about rounds out our program, no?
Yeah. I mean, I think we covered everything we wanted to talk about, to be honest. I'm excited for this week. I think this week 2 is going to really shape out kind of a lot of the opinions and the reactions we had to week 1. It's going to shape it out a little bit, and we're really going to get a lot of clarity for teams like Heretics, for teams like LAT, even teams like LAG. We're going to see what they're about. Surge is another big question mark. They have their real test this week, so it's one that I'm really excited for. And, Dope Check next week is going to be really opinionated because finally we're going to have some clarity and there's going to be a lot less question marks. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, yeah. I think so, because the first week there were quite a few teams that just played one match, And for one match, you never get the full picture. Like, Heretics are one of the teams I'm looking forward to see for sure. Like, I'm guessing they play a couple of times this weekend. Surely they must do. They play Vegas and then they play Rocker. Like, again, winnable series, right? Like, realistically, Heretics could start out 3-0 here. It's not impossible. And that would really be an exciting one.
One more hot take. I don't know if everyone read the overreaction article I did. Lucky 2024 CDL All-Star. You heard it here, folks. If my goddamn stream deck was working, I would do sirens. I would do sirens right now. DJ popping off. But watch. Lucky 2024 CDL All-Star. You heard it here first. Write it down, note it down. Week 1, called it out already. Just know that, guys. Just know that.
I respect the take. I mean, I remember when Pac-Man was getting all this shit during Black Ops 4 because he said that Journey was a top 5 player in the league, I think, which was a hot take. But I think it was probably true for a brief period. And then Heretics kind of fell off towards the end. But there was a time where, I mean, Journey's in this team now. They put Eric Boone back to the bench, didn't they, right? So
yeah.
Like, they've got lots of potential here. I was such a big fan of Lucky, to be honest. When I started watching this guy in Black Ops 4, obviously the sniper isn't really used in this game, but he was a sick sniper as well. Mm-hmm. Like with the Paladin, right? Black Ops 4 sniper.
He was considered the best sniper, legitimately.
Yeah, like him and Simp basically were.
Yeah,
like, him, Simp, Dashi, like
top 2. Yeah, in the conversation for arguably the best sniper. Yeah. Yeah,
good times.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's top 3 to start. It's exciting stuff. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. As soon as this ends, we have a podcast episode for you guys to go live. Another podcast. So if you haven't had enough of people chatting for over an hour, then you can go again because Drill and the boys that put on the other Breaking Point show had the episode with APG. It shouldn't be leaked or anything. It's just coming live. APG already tweeted about it anyway, so I know we were like teasing who's it gonna be,
and then he quotes it. It's
APG
hilarious.
APG just puts it on his story that he was there anyway, so like everybody knew. But as soon as this is over, I'm gonna press publish on that video.
Yeah. Everyone go. Yeah, everyone. Once this is over, go to the Breaking Point podcast with D-Real and APG. Go give that a watch, give that a like, give that a comment, push it in the algo. We need to get the algo going, boys and girls. Let it go. We appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in to Dope Check. We will see you guys next week. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great time watching the matches, and we'll catch you guys very soon. Later, guys.